Welcome to my castle of blood.
Dave, we're just here to talk about the Dracula book.
Oh, okay. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Horror Week here on West Coast Davengers. And here's my guest right over there, Daryl from Read Your Comics. What's going on, Daryl?
Oh, nothing much. Ready to dive into some horror comics here.
Yes, me too. I'm just drinking a little bit of that blood. I accidentally drained my neighbor.
Where do you find that stuff?
She's, in the garage now, and so is he. So they're just hanging upside down, and I just kind of, put the glass under it.
Put the tap in and
Yep. And it's just fresh blood. So today we're talking. We're going to do a little flip through and kind of talk through.
Look at your black and white cover.
Yeah, we both got the Kelly Jones Matt Wagner Dracula. I got the special edition with the little blood red
Oh, that's
foil.
pretty nice. That's pretty nice.
Yeah.
You went all out.
I did. I have a tendency to do that with pretty much everything I buy. It's a expensive habit to have. Did you want to preface this with anything? I mean, or you just want to dive right into it?
Let's just dive right in, man. This is a pretty awesome Dracula book, I felt like.
Yes, I did too. And I think for this, we should just let the book be our only guide. So yeah, they announced Kelly Jones was one of my favorite artists, especially when it comes to horror. I grew up reading the Batman, Dracula, Red Rain, Crimson Mist, and Bloodstorm. And to be honest, I think I've consumed more of his artwork and his work than I have Matt Wagner.
That's fair. I'm probably in the same boat. I feel like Kelly Jones has just done more mainstream stuff than Matt Wagner.
Yeah, Matt Wagner created Grendel, created Mage, but that was early 80s. And I think by the time I got into comics, it was like, oh, I knew him from Batman Grendel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so, that was my introduction to him as well.
But this book was Kickstarted last year and it went live October 31st. And here we are less than a year later. And we both have this book in hand and we both read it. And, it was pitched by Wagner and, well, mostly Wagner as this side of the Dracula story that was never really told in any format, really.
Yeah, it was an interesting concept that I've never read Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Neither have I.
But it was in his introduction here, he talks about how Dracula is more of like a looming figure in the book.
Mm-hmm.
And this is more about like the stuff that's alluded to in the book, I guess. And they're kind of expounding on it without doing a direct adaptation of the book.
Yes, and they do a great job at that. The end pages with the howling wolf and the full moon. There's your tip-in page, which is signed.
Okay. I did not get that page in my copy, so that's pretty.
Yeah, cool. I went. Like I said, I went all out for the signed edition, numbered out of 666 copies, signed by Matt Wagner and Kelly Jones, with a great impaled body pinup.
That's pretty sweet.
Yeah, I'm stoked with that. So there you go, book one of proposed, and I think they said they're going to do 4 books, and this one's called The Impaler. Obviously, he was known as Vlad the Impaler. Look at this first image by Kelly Jones. This is the wildest looking bat Dracula.
Trans configuration, is that what they call it later?
Yeah,
on? It's pretty wild looking. It's like teeth in the ears, and like, you see like the hand of the wing itself. I mean, it's pretty wild.
It's definitely the most menacing Dracula I've ever seen in Transfiguration.
Definitely.
So, written by Matt Wagner, art by Kelly Jones, color by the illustrious Jose Villarrubia, and letters by Rob Lee.
I gotta say the colors in it, because I follow Jose on Instagram, and he recolored the Bernie Wrightson Swamp Thing, Absolute Edition and stuff. So I'm pretty familiar with his work, and I think he did a fantastic job on this. I'll just put that out there too. And the lettering is really good too.
Yeah, I think it's this team of 4 did an outstanding job in their respective fields. Villarubia's covers, you know, and it's funny. I don't always like the way that people color Kelly Jones's work, but I did really, really love this. I think it's because there's so much blood involved in this book.
It's well, we'll get into it on page by page, but like I think he doesn't like overdo the like gradients and stuff like a lot of modern colorists do. It's
Yeah,
like there's still like tonal shifts, but it's just the right amount. It's not over the top.
and Villarubia has been at it for a long time, and he's perfected his craft, so it makes
Yeah.
sense. So we get a really nice introduction to the book by Matt Wagner, just kind of going through what he loves about Dracula, but also
Hmm.
what this is about. And I read it. Like I don't
I
always
did
read.
too.
Yeah, I don't always read introductions right away. Sometimes I'll read them after the book, but
Hmm.
Matt Wagner is a very speaking to him in person, but just reading his words, he's a very well spoken and very well written person.
Hmm. Yeah,
Um,
and it was a good introduction. I like that he gave a little bit of history beyond like, well, history about the book and how it wasn't really a success initially, but it kind of just held on until it
mhm,
permeated like just the
culture.
vampires, yeah, the culture. And then
Yeah.
also history of like who the character was inspired by, like in real life, the Vlad the Impaler,
Mhm.
uh real person that did exist.
Yes, and Bram Stoker was not. Yeah, he talked about how he wasn't famous. He wasn't. He probably. I don't know if he died poor, but he probably died close to it.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, and then you get a quote from Bram Stoker, and then away we go into the full moon again. This time with some teeth.
Yeah, it's a great opening image, and I think it's setting the stage. We're getting also like this Dracula origin from the perspective of Dracula himself, but
Hmm.
it's already happened, and he's kind of telling us the story.
Yes, his life and afterlife and afterlife story. Um, the lettering stands out right away,
Hmm.
but right here where it says Priam, son of the dragon, Dracula, that really stands out.
Yeah,
But a great opening splash page, and we are thrust into the world of Vlad and the war that he's in with the was it the
the
Turks?
Turks, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah. And so you get an opening. I mean, it's a very cinematic opening thing with a
Hmm.
some great female bodies that are just they're concubines or
Yeah,
whatever you want to call them.
he makes some good looking rounded women. I like this
Yes.
panel down with the guy's face in between the two women,
Hmm.
like right there.
He's
Just the
yelling
way
at
that,
them.
yeah, it's like the way that he like positioned that profile face, breaking up the other panel. It was. I thought it was just an interesting layout.
It took me by surprise, and I really enjoyed. She calls him an asshole after,
Yeah,
and kind of with immunity, in certain kind of pop culture moments in certain shows or movies, they would be killed for talking like that, but not here.
yeah, and I like even Vlad's like they provided me comfort. Make sure they're taken care of.
Yeah, yeah. And then we get to literally that's just the most gruesome two-page spread
Yeah, it
that
w-
might ever exist.
wastes no time getting into the gore, right?
Hmm. Well, I mean, it's a way we got to be reminded that this is not bio. This is a horror book.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, and it's when you always hear like, "Oh, Vlad the Impaler, he put like the heads on pikes and stuff." This is, I mean, that one over there on the right side.
Yeah,
Yeah,
through the
look
ass.
where the yeah.
Through literally through the ass. But I mean, children, women, it didn't matter, and they were skinned. It
Mhm.
wasn't like they were just impaled; they were skinned. You have to make the villain a villain as soon as we meet him. It
Yeah.
really sets the precedent. So we get this great two-page spread. And once again, the colors are singing with Kelly Jones's artwork.
Mhm.
I will say at some point, I would love to see an artist edition of this, just full on,
Yeah.
ink pen and pencil.
Yeah. Eventually, I bet when the whole thing is done, they'll do some kind of artist edition.
Yeah. And so we just get a little montage of Vlad being Vlad and he's in battle. It's not that he has everybody do everything for him. He is slaying people.
Yeah, he's out there doing it. I like the voivode. I had to look up how to pronounce that correctly. I guess that's like his title.
Yeah. Yeah. I assumed it was voivod, but voivode is probably more accurate. I do love this panel here with the arrow through the throat. You don't even really see much. You just see the chainmail kind of spreading out. Just the physicality of that and the brutalness, and then I guess he needed to sacrifice somebody here.
Yeah, so I think what was going on here was the Turks were closing in, and they basically had to escape. So they had this guy that kind of looked like Vlad,
right?
And he's there to serve him, and so they basically are sacrificing him more or less to fake his death,
right?
So
Because
that
he
they,
takes
so
off
that they,
the pendant,
right, so that they could like escape.
Yes, that's what it was. I read this last week, so I didn't get a chance to read it again last night. But so then Vlad's fleeing so that he doesn't get sacked by the Turks, and he's just got a red cloak, and he's with his most trusted servant.
He shaved his mustache in that little turn of the page too.
Yep, very quickly. And then they run up on some Turks, and they act like peasants, and they get attacked. Yeah, they get attacked, but they don't get killed.
Oh, by the wolves.
Well, yeah. So then they set up camp. First wolf comes, and we see it kind of watching, and they're talking about just what's going on, and
this is his first wife he was talking about too, and
right.
So you're really in this whole scene, we're really just getting a lot of like backstory on Vlad and his motivations and like why he's in this war with the Turks and all this backstory.
Right, which isn't going forward, doesn't, or at least in this book, doesn't really seem to have much importance going forward.
Other than he's mentioning that he'll do anything to get the power he needs to vanquish his enemies.
Right up here is talking about beyond the natural world. So then we get the wolves, and oh God, I love this panel up here. I mean, and for anybody that doesn't really know Kelly Jones's artwork, Kelly Jones taking, he looked at so much Bernie Wrightson art as a young person, and also probably a lot of Ghastly Graham Ingalls and some Frazetta. So these are, he really is. I look at Kelly Jones as the greatest horror artist that's still with us.
Yeah, that's still producing currently. Yeah, this whole page on the left, I think, from the silhouetted wolves to the top, and I believe this was one of their images of Vlad they used in the Kickstarter campaign, like preview art with the full moon and the torch and all. Like the composition of the whole page is just
it's beautiful,
top notch.
Yeah. Because if we were to look at this as like, oh well, wolves are running through the sky on the moon. No, it's just a great, like it's like a trailer shot, like you said, perfect trailer shot, and then all of a sudden. I'm not exactly sure where they come from, but I'm assuming those wolves are vampires, right? Like this is one of the wolves that just transformed into that.
So I didn't really think that at the moment, but I guess that could be it. I don't know. It just kind of pops up, and what do they call it? They call a Wardulac.
Yeah, it's a zombie, but I guess maybe this forest is just full of really creepy shit.
Yeah, but I definitely see the Wrightson in this creature.
Oh yeah,
I mean, Kelly Jones adds a little extra anatomy into things more so than Bernie Wrightson did, but there's just like the sinew and stuff of the chest and the shoulders, all that like just says Bernie Wrightson to me.
The hair too.
Yeah.
But great half page or 3/4 page splash. And we've got Walking Dead, aka zombies, aka whatever the fuck these things are, and they are ugly. But apparently they don't like fire.
Yeah, so now I will say on these pages, I was trying to figure out if it was just still the one or if there was more than one attacking them. There's a little confusion here to me.
Yeah, actually,
I think it's just one.
It is just one, yeah. And your panel break is here.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
because the torch is used as a panel break.
Right. So sword into zombie, torch, sword still in zombie, and then its arm is kind of like separating. I mean, they're not really
Mhm.
panels; they're just kind of like
Overlapping.
motions.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. I didn't realize it until you said it. And here's kind of two images in one here.
Mhm. Yeah, so maybe it's like giving like a frantic, even though it is just one attacking, it is supposed to be that like think of like shaky camera footage kind of
Hmm.
thing
Hmm.
to like, make it feel even more intense that it is
Yeah,
more than one attacking, but it's when it's just the one causing all of that havoc and chaos in the moment.
it all happens so quick, and that's I guess what it's conveying, and it does a good job
Mhm.
of that. You just I it it's like one of those things. You either need somebody to point it out, or yeah, you need to read it twice.
Yeah. I had to look at it when I was reading it. I was like, "Wait, is there 1? Is there 2? Like, what's going on?" Yeah, and it did take me a minute to, like, suss it out, you know?
Yeah. But they ward it off and they camp for the night. I really enjoy the way
Yeah,
that
this tree.
this tree breaks up everything, and
Mhm.
they're just trying to find the way because he's trying to get. Does it say yet where they're trying to go?
I forget it's a weird name of the place that they want to go, and they're trying to find the person that's gonna tell them the way, which is, like, this in this cabin over here that we're gonna
Yeah,
get to, but, like, what did they say it? It was a weird name. I do like that, they start seeing these talesmen and stuff, which are these, like, bones on,
yeah,
like, and they start mentioning how it's, like, it's making their heads feel weary, and it's disorienting them on, like, a mental level, not just like a,
or physical.
visual level. It's, like,
Yeah,
truly affecting their bodies.
yeah, and they're that's the point is it's trying to ward people off, but they press on and they get to Marta Tegan's domain, and in this cabin. I love I love what happens here. Like this took me by surprise. You got this kind of like wolf looking thing, maybe a
Mhm.
carcass, and then all of
Yep.
a sudden it's alive.
Yeah, it's, like, screaming and talking to him.
Yeah, yeah. That's a great horror trope, and I don't know if I've ever seen it pulled off well in a comic. In a movie, it can work well. So here's our witch, or whatever she is, and my God, she's hideous. Almost
Yeah.
looks like a old man.
Yep.
Um,
This is pure EC Comics,
yeah.
Crypt Keeper, Vault Keeper, uh I mean, this is like straight out of something like that. And this is a page where Jose's color just really sings, I think,
Oh
with the
yeah.
green ambiance coming up from the cauldron up past the cauldron and gets
Yeah.
darker as it passes over the face. I mean, it's a gorgeous page.
And I love that the next page, the witch is kind of shrouded in like there's so the lighting
Hmm.
source. This is this panel here, this panel with the negative space.
Yeah. Hmm.
It's terrifying. I mean, this is also terrifying. Kind of reminds me of, like you said, besides the Crypt Keeper, the Vulture a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. The one panel down there in the, uh, yeah, right there.
Yeah.
Try to or the right page, the left bottom left of the right page. I was trying to get it all out. And then the spitting, which, had they made this like a year later, that would have said Hawk Tour, right?
That's right. It definitely would have said that. It definitely would have. But I like how she already knows who this is. Welcome
Hmm.
Vlad III, known as the Dracula, the Voivod of all Wallachia. Wallachia.
Wallachia.
Yeah. So we've
Yeah.
got she's making a potion she already knows, but she says, pay the price or spare me your pious demands. Speak. And then he says, I seek it. Oh, that's right. I seek admittance to the Scholomance.
Yeah, the Scholomance. Yeah. I guess that's the first time he mentioned it. Or maybe he said it earlier, but
And then it's the Devil's Own School of the Dark Arts. And it's very interesting because like I didn't realize it was actually going to be what they said it was.
yeah.
Like I thought it would be something different, but I'm glad it was more straightforward. Kind of like an evil Hogwarts,
Yeah.
run by the devil.
Yeah.
So so basically your vital seed that what you know um whatchamacallit. Oh yeah, so Marta, right? Marta
Marta,
says that
yeah.
his vital seed is the only thing that will basically be accepted as payment
Mhm.
to for the information of how to get to the Scholomance. And servants like, no, no, no. And Vlad's like, no,
What
I'll do it.
whatever it takes.
Yeah, whatever it takes. And basically she's this haggard, disgusting looking thing. And
Mhm.
he's got to spend an evening, making sweet, sweet love.
I don't know if it's so sweet. It's kinda nasty, nasty, dirty. I love this transfiguration though here with these like faces, these like I don't these ghoulish demons over here like flying by as she
Mhm.
starts to transform.
Yeah, and it looks like maybe I don't know. It was Zipatone, but it looks like it could be.
Yeah, or
Maybe
like even
this.
just like maybe took like a white highlighter and just dots, like a
Yeah,
white pen on the black and all these little dots because they're not very there's not a clear pattern to them that I can see. But
mm.
it's a neat texture for sure.
Also Kelly Jones draws some great skulls.
Yep. He's done a few in his day.
Hopefully I don't get any type of.
And you may need to throw when I did this book, when I flipped through it, I kind of did some stuff like that, like on a few of these pages like that. So
Yeah. But yeah, look, we'll get through this real quick. She transforms into a very curvy,
yep,
beautiful looking woman, and basically they spend the night together, and
yep.
maybe they do some sex, and maybe they don't. But
I think they definitely do. But look how he comes out.
I know he's all clued up. I think this is one of the most effective images in this entire book, because I'm just like, man, we've all, not to that level, but we've all, maybe been there. And
Yeah.
damn. But
Yeah,
so
that's why I
yeah,
said it wasn't so sweet.
no, they consummate, and he comes out and he's like, all right, uh, you know, it's time to go. He says, yes, I know where to go. And we get a little traveling, a little talking about the Turks and about like his more of this backstory stuff. Um, and then we get to this. This
Yeah.
is how it came out of nowhere. This monster, this serpent, also very kind of feels like Bernie-ish, or like DC
Yeah, I can
Comics.
see.
A serpent with a head coming out of its chest.
Yeah, and it's like the head does the talking, but it's like connected like an umbilical cord or something
Yes.
almost. And I don't know what the other like mouth head even would represent. I mean, it is the first time I flipped through this book and I'm like, here's a Dracula book. And then I got to this thing. I was like, what are these creatures in this vampire book? Like,
I
I
know.
was not expecting it at all.
And the book, I think, surprised me so much because of this, like this great creature design, and the fact that, I don't know where Wagner came up with some of this stuff, or what he told Kelly, but a great design. And this creature says the only way to pass, there's a blood toll, so someone's
Mhm.
going to have to die. And there's only two characters that could
Yep.
die. Constantine gets the sword to the chest, and Vlad beheads him and offers up the blood sacrifice.
Yeah, and this was foreshadowed a few pages earlier when I think it was after the wolves or something, and in his narration, he was like, "Constantine was like probably my most loyal servant. I will miss him." Like, because he knew it was going to come to this
Yeah,
eventually. He's like, "I
yeah.
will miss him." Like, I mean, when the time comes, like, and I was like, "Hmm."
Story
So
like Dracula is not going to get away from sacrificing a few people.
yeah, so it's like this was somebody who was loyal to, and he felt bad about it, but he's like, "Look, again, whatever it takes,
Mhm.
gotta get there."
Yep. And then the creature literally sucks his face off of his face, and
Again,
then
just wild, right? Just
yeah,
wild. That panel of like there's not a straw, it's just
yep. And the lettering's great on it, and then the big guy eats the head, and Oh, yeah, well, poor Constantine, luckily he was dead, but there's still some emotion on that face, and each shot of his face shows a different emotion.
Hmm.
So he might actually still be a little bit alive.
Maybe so. And I like before you turn the page, look when it's chomping on his head
Yeah.
and it's eating it. The other head has got this like look of like
He's drunk.
satisfaction, ecstasy. Like, oh, that's the stuff.
Yeah, he's drunk on that dude's face. And once again, Villarubia killing it with the colors. I mean,
Yep.
there's pinks, magentas, yellows. There's everything here.
Even the little bit of texture in the background of that top panel, and it's in the bottom two there too,
Yeah.
in the background. It's great.
Yep. So he's at the Lake Hermanstadt, which is supposed to be the home of the Scholomance. I assume
Mhm.
it's Scholomance and not Scholomance, but you know, I thought Scholomance because school, but
School, yeah. I don't know. I
yeah.
didn't look up how to pronounce it correctly, so we'll go with
S-
Scholomance.
So he doesn't know exactly how to get in. The instructions. I thought that was really good putting that in there where it says, but where and how to enter these diabolical ranks. Marta's instructions were scant on such specifics. So she's like,
Mhm.
probably said, this is how you get to the lake. That's where you'll
And
find
great,
the
you got
Scholomance.
your Kelly Jones cloak flowing up
Yeah.
there in the one panel. I mean, and then the other one too down on the other page. I mean,
Hmm.
that's when I think of Kelly Jones and like his Sandman issues or
Yeah.
even his Batman or whatever, when he does like a flowing cape or cloak, it's just full of like, drapery hanging off. It's
Yeah. He draws cloaks better than pretty much everybody. Um, so yeah, he eats a bunch of rats. He's surviving off almost nothing, and then all of a sudden he damns the devil, and the devil says, "Yes, Impaler, I hear you." And
mhm.
so we know we're getting our first look at the devil, and look, the devil is a child.
Yeah, very creepy, eerie. It's like it's pale, so it looks like dead, but with these blood red eyes.
Hmm. Yeah,
Way oversized robe here too, and I'm assuming Jose added that texture to the robe as
yeah, the
well.
texture on it's great. I also love the fact that just are you truly Satan? I am he, she, they, it, Lucifer, one and the same. I have borne many names because that's the accurate way to portray the devil.
Yep,
Everything.
yep. Hmm.
Um, this next page is just fucking bananas. I don't even know how to describe what's going on here.
This is the devil giving Vlad essentially the Ghost Rider penance stare, and Vlad is like meh.
Yeah, yeah, he is so indifferent to it. That's actually a great way to put it.
Because
Wow.
these are all like the people that he's killed and impaled and all this stuff, and he's
Yeah.
supposed to be feeling their pain and torment, and he's like, "Bah,
Yeah.
what
What do
care
I?
I for these doomed and desperate spirits?"
Mm, drank some blood for that. But a great artistically, just an amazing page.
Hmm.
Just
And
unbelievable.
and I'm looking at it too, and I'm thinking, in the Terminator RoboCop with that Walt Simonson did,
Yeah. Yeah. Frank
and
Miller.
there
Walt Simonson.
and there's like a page where it's like the time travel page, and Walt basically took like one drawing of kind of like a figure in like a fetal position
Yeah.
and like changed it up in size and like by photocopying it and then put it on the
Yeah.
page. This is fully drawn.
Yeah.
Every
That's
face
not
is
what this is.
completely different. Every face is different on this.
I will ask Kelly if this page was drawn as is, or if he drew all these, cut them, and then made them a collage of them, and that's
Yeah,
what the page is.
that would be great to know because I mean
Yeah.
every face is drawn into it's a different face every one of them though.
Yes. Yes. Wild. We're gonna find out. Stay tuned. Um, so he cuts through these skulls. He's cutting through the vision, and he's kind of he's being the egomaniac that he is. And the devil says, "Yeah, yeah, you'll do quite
Hmm.
nicely." Um,
Great
he's
panel there too on the left bottom right of the bottom left. There,
Yeah,
perfect. The
yeah.
lighting on that face. Love that portrait there.
I think that's Kelly Jones drawing his own face.
Oh yeah, it does kind of look like Kelly Jones. I
Yeah,
didn't even think
yeah, a
about
little
that.
bit. So the devil basically says, "You can only come in if I invite you, and I'm inviting you." And I do love this. I love the Satan talk and where he's
Hmm.
screaming "Hail Satan" at the bottom of this.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and I guess I never thought about how Dracula actually became Dracula. Like
yeah, me
in
too.
my mind, it's always just he's Dracula. He's the Lord of the Vampires. He just is what
Hmm.
he is, right? And then you realize, like, wait, he like gave himself up to Satan to become this.
Yeah, yeah. This is maybe the most metal comic of all time too. So we get him entering and basically just kind of talking about uh how to get there and how he's entering the Skullman's. And he shows up and there's a big giant face here in this, I guess it's a pentagram, and there's a bunch of cloaked figures, and now the devil presents themselves as a woman. Right? Is that what this is? Yeah. Yeah, because it's the red text is always going to be Satan.
Yeah. Is it a woman or just kind of an awkwardly way he drew the child instead?
Could be, or it could just be a whatchamacallit, androgynous being.
Yeah.
So, um,
Yeah,
greetings,
but
Vlad.
I
Oh yeah,
definitely love that like giant like head and like the
yeah,
gargoyle-ish things, I guess you'd say, these sculptures. It's all throughout this book, but like yeah, the big giant face because the next page you see it from like the floor up angle.
yeah. It's
And another
crazy looking.
and another great coloring with the gradients there. Just really
Mhm.
pops.
It's interesting. I bet you a black and white version of this book may not even, some of these things may not look as amazing. Like Villarubia's coloring on this really does
Hmm.
package this book in such an interesting way. Um, so we just get a little description of what's going on in the Skullman's and what they got to do, and the rules,
Hmm.
um, stuff like that. It's just adding to, really does bring you into this world.
And it's bringing some other characters in right here that um, other people looking to learn this dark arts as well.
Hmm.
So
Yeah,
we're getting to see Vlad kind of uh, pitting himself, although they're not supposed to be. They're kind of like
right.
he's going to consider it a competition with these other people as well.
Exactly. And it's just, it's strengthening the whole thing, the story. But also I gotta say, one of these unsung things about this book is there's enough text. There's a lot of text, but it's
Hmm.
not overly too much dialogue.
No, I feel like this book read fairly quick. It's
Yes.
like what about 96 pages, I think.
Hmm.
And it read very fluidly, and there's actually like to me I took a break at the Hail Satan part because I'd
Hmm.
read up to that point and I was like, oh, I need a break, and I thought that was a good okay, here's a good stopping point, really like kind of natural because the next it's starting like the school stuff. So it's a good flow to the whole story.
Yes, yeah, and I agree. I took two breaks in this book, and that's it. I read it in three sittings, and
Hmm.
and this is a great pace to it. So we get just an absolutely banger of a almost full 2-page spread. I guess the
Yeah.
the imagery cuts here, but just like so much detail without being too hyper detailed. And I like
Hmm.
that Kelly Jones does that. Like the books are just kind of shapes. They're not all symmetrical, but
Right.
I
And
absolutely love this half body skeleton hanging up there.
they're just crammed in too, the books. They're just
Yeah.
like crammed in the shelves. And the texture of these light fixtures, again, with these like crazy kind of cat looking people
Hmm.
gargoyles, but that pattern on the lights is reflecting onto the books and stuff
Yeah.
around it as well.
Yep. It's interesting, and I doubt it is, but I just can't help but think about that. That's the pattern on the what's Doctor Strange's
Yeah,
what
his the Sanctum
sec-
Sanctorum.
thank you. Yeah,
Yeah,
That's the
It,
pattern
it
on
looks a
the
lot like
window.
it. Yep,
Yeah.
definitely gives that vibe. But yeah, that's a great 2-page spread, and I spent a few minutes on this page just like looking around at everything at it and the
Yeah.
texture on these things in the front, whatever these like metal things. I mean, there's so many different textures and stuff on it. It's just so well done.
Yep. Yep. And he's kind of his internal monologue is kind of talking about the other people there, and
Hmm.
they gawk and he says that they gawk and marvel at this room like peasants, and he says he's no groveling sycophant.
Yeah,
Um, so he is in competition with
yeah.
these other people, even though it's technically not a competition.
And the line that in this, as in all things, I shall dominate.
Yeah, yeah. So we get some more exposition here and learning, and he's reading and he's researching. I mean, it's reminiscent of maybe a little bit of what Gandalf did after the ring wraiths showed up.
Yeah,
You
when he was
know,
trying to figure out the ring. But this is
hmm
an interesting page because he's like, while they're toiling away trying to learn basic spells and wizardry, he's researching Satan himself just in
yeah,
case he has to kill the son of a bitch.
yep, yep. He's know your keep your enemies close, keep your friends close, keep your enemies closer,
Hmm.
type thing. But we get this conversation. Uh, I feel like there are some pieces of dialogue that just very temporarily took me out of it. Some of the dialogue seemed more contemporary than it should have been.
Hmm.
But I mean, that's just you're also trying to appeal. Like Matt Wagner's not trying to write this like it's an 18th century novel.
Right. Are you talking about like the slur and stuff he's using?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I don't think I just don't think those slurs existed back then.
Yeah. I agree. It did kind of give me pause, even though you're like, okay, Vlad is an asshole.
Yeah.
It's
Oh,
like
he
and
totally
stuff.
is.
So it makes sense for him to be like uh, condescending in this way. But yeah, I agree that it does seem like too modern of a slur for for him to use in this time period. But
Yes.
you know,
But the conversation, like what's going on art wise here was just amazing to see. With
hmm,
I guess this is like they're talking about
how
the
they view
devil,
Satan. Yeah.
yeah, and how they view. So this guy's saying he's like kind of like a yeti, and she's saying is a giant black snake.
Hmm.
That's clearly the Joker, but he says
It's Loki.
it's
He says it's
Loki.
Loki. Yeah.
Oh, that's right, that's right. Which
Because he's a
I
Norse guy. He was like,
yeah.
it was Loki.
Yeah, and even though the Joker is based off of the Man Who Laughs, still they're kind of interchangeable characters if you think
Hmm.
about it. And then Fitzhugh says he I came here seeking Old Scratch, which I love that name.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah.
And again, the texture of these, like their visions of him,
Hmm.
the texture he used to do those, it's like it's different enough to where it's giving more that like a illusion as opposed to it being like right over their shoulder, I guess.
Yes, yes.
It's
And
all it's yeah, it's great. This whole conversation reminds me of like something out of Sandman too. I feel like
yeah,
this like little like just sitting over dinner discussing the way the devil looks to each of them. It just felt very like something straight out of a Sandman issue.
yeah, yeah. And Kelly's no stranger. Neither is Matt Wagner to that
Yeah,
series
exactly.
whatsoever. So then we this woman here catches, kind of catches Dracula piecing out, and we're going to get into it with them very, very soon. But he also doesn't want to be around these people. He's a loner,
Hmm.
and he sees himself, or he sees them below him, as
Hmm.
as
Yes.
humans. Um, and so he's learning to already, like manipulate water, and she comes up behind him, and they start chatting.
Yep. They are kind of hitting it off.
Yeah,
She's definitely trying to befriend him. He's trying to kind of keep her away in one hand, but also, intrigued by her interest in him as well.
hmm and a detail that I love about this, because they're dealing with the devil. there's going to be souls and human beings that were dead that are used for things. Well, apparently the steps have
Yeah.
faces. Just the
Yeah.
details that Kelly Jones is adding in are
Mhm.
incredible.
I mean, those steps though look like they have to hop from step to step to me,
Yeah,
but yeah, I mean that is cool the way they're like just sticking out with a face on the end.
yeah. So yeah, they're still chatting. They're in a library now, books everywhere. He's trying to turn base metals into gold, and he's
Yeah.
close to that.
Alchemy. Yeah.
Yeah, alchemy and Dracula's like, yeah, go ahead, do that. You know,
Yeah.
I'll be over here becoming more powerful.
Yeah. He's like, you guys are like looking at like the most like basic things.
Yeah, yeah. Basic vampirism or
Yeah.
basic Satanism.
Yeah.
Um, so she comes to his room and basically says, basically they're just trying to bang.
Yeah. I
And
like this pose of him, like though when she first like kind of shows up, he's like, "How did you get in here?" This pose
yeah,
he's in.
yeah, yeah. It's like stern dad type thing, and she basically she throws herself at him, he throws himself at her, and we get sexy time part 2 in
Yeah.
Dracula. I'm
And
not gonna
Vlad with his like corny dad joke almost. What is it? She says like, "See, it's not so hard." And yes, I think
I
you'll
think you'll
find it
find it
very
very
hard.
hard. Once again, like I said, there's 1 or 2 moments in this book that just kinda take me out of it with the dialogue, but,
Yeah.
yeah, so they get it on.
Yeah.
Uh,
They build a relationship more or less.
yes, they do, and that starts there. And so he's, I guess, kind of the transition of the scene didn't
Hmm.
really make sense to me.
Some of this starts. I feel like it starts moving pretty fast at this
Yeah,
point too.
yeah,
So now he's like trying to conquer the beast, I guess,
mm,
of the wilderness. So these wolves.
yeah, because vampires are supposed to be able to kind of control all manner of creature, and he does. He
Yep.
gets that wolf to basically turn into a little pup.
Yeah. Yep.
But I love the lettering on this right here, the kind of the motion that Kelly Jones is drawing in the
Hmm.
wolves. It's incredible. Oh my. Here we go. So he's got his orchestra of wolves right here. And Satan says, you're doing good. But, you know, um, he says you're doing good, and he commends him. And then he's basically saying you can learn stuff from your schoolmates.
Yeah. I love this cauldron scene on the other page. Again, it's like these pages are. It's like, is it a splash page or is it because it's broken up into these weird the way that he uses these things to break up the panels? It's just so much to look at. I
Yeah,
guess.
and it's super unique.
Yeah.
But it's also great because it's directing you where to read and
Hmm.
look, and like you're not confused about what's happening in this scene. At the point of reading, where there are a lot of comic book artists that would ruin this. This would not be something that they could do, and you would get confused on where you're supposed to read.
Right.
Odin's balls, not a term also that I thought I would ever see or read. Um, yeah, like this was the part of the book where I start to kind of like just a little bit. I'm like, I don't know if I really like the dialogue. Answer me, fuckface. I mean, like
Yeah.
I'm all for using great, curse words,
Right.
but I just don't feel like they're
Nothing to this
talking like
point
this.
felt like that.
Yeah, yeah. But I do love this that basically like this dude's being a little piece of shit to Dracula, and Dracula turns his beard into snakes.
Yeah. And the snakes start biting his face.
Yeah, yeah. Ouch. Ouch. Um, and so she basically says, "Come on, stop being an asshole, Vlad." And she relieves his beard.
Yeah, like he's like, let him free himself. After all, we are not allowed to help each other. Like he's like, after all, we're not supposed to break the rules here.
I like how he says, I have never suffered fools." I feel that a lot. I feel that. Sometimes I say that to myself too. So I feel that I might be a little bit of Dracula, megalomaniac sometimes. Um, so he this okay, so there's a couple of fishermen on the lake, and they probably shouldn't be
Mhm.
in this lake, considering this lake
Yeah.
is run by the devil. And all of a sudden, this giant tidal wave comes out of nowhere and blows their boat up into the air, and it's Dracula controlling the water.
Mhm.
Even
Yeah.
if it oh, sorry.
Well, I was just saying, like this scene, it did seem kind of out of place. Like, where is this going? Why, like, why are we seeing these fishermen here? Like, what is the
Yeah,
point of this part? These 2 pages, I mean, they look pretty like everything in this book, but they did seem. If I would say there was 2 unnecessary pages in this book, it would probably be those 2.
sure, sure. But this wildly so interesting, like
Mhm.
yeah, but it does seem a little out of place, and they drown, they die, and it's basically just showing us how much more powerful Dracula's
Mhm.
getting with
Right.
every turn of the page.
Yeah. Because
And
they were
so,
supposed to be in this school for like 7 years. And I
uh-huh.
think at this point, maybe like 3 years have passed, maybe. I feel like they said it at some point, but they still were like not even really at the halfway point.
And her name's Naki. I just remembered that. And basically, she says I've been trying to assume the form of an animal, and he's saying, but I mastered that months ago.
Yeah,
He's so far ahead of everybody else.
right. He's like, I'll show you how to do it. That's like nothing.
Yeah.
Like,
And she's
oh,
like, nope.
and we didn't talk about it, but they also have these mirrors in their rooms, and they're allowed to ask it for help 3 times, and he's not used
Right.
his at all yet. And
That was
she's like, I'm going to ask the mirror for help.
Yeah, and that was part of the rules in the beginning when they get to the school.
Mhm.
Kelly Jones draws women curves like nobody else.
For Zeta,
Yeah,
maybe.
well, I meant people living.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
But I mean, you definitely see he draws Frazetta women. They are
Oh yeah.
voluptuous, but they're not like little, they're not J. Scott Campbell uh
Right.
type of
Right.
women. They're very curvy.
hmm So she's walking through the halls, and she runs into what's his name, Jalal.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Who,
And he warns
which,
her.
but they're getting too close, and
hmm
they're all like kind of jealous of Vlad at this point because they see how much he's progressing. There's one woman there, and he's got her too. It's like there's a lot of jealousy going on, I think, with these other schoolmates.
And I think it's foreshadowing, because Dracula is known to have the brides, and like he's stealing everybody's women.
Yeah.
If you see Dracula or a vampire in general, and you're a married man, you go the other way. Just walk the other way with your wife, or vice versa. If
hmm
you're a woman and you're walking with your husband and you see a vampire, walk the other way.
Yep. Don't get involved. But here
So
she is, where she's
yeah,
turned into her like leopard thing that she's turned into.
man, this might be uh, like, away from the blood and gore, this might be my favorite panel in the entire book.
It's still got like her dreadlocks, I'm just noticing
Yeah, yeah,
too.
it's just such a striking image.
And again, the background, the like texture they're using with the
Mhm.
circles and stuff, it's almost giving you like a she's not just transformed, it's almost like a disorienting
Yeah,
effect that it's causing as well.
hypnotic for sure.
hmm
So she turns into that thing, and now she says, "I can run with beasts, and my homeland, wild and free." And he's like, "You want to see what I can transform into?"
Yeah. Uh, here's our shot again that was in the front of the book, but like where he's like tearing his face off
Yeah,
to reveal it.
it's so sick. I love this. And she is just like, she's horrified at first, and then she's basically like, "Yo, calm down. Calm the fuck down. I am
I
not
mean,
your enemy."
and it's almost kind of like like a little nod towards Batman, since Wagner and Kelly Jones have a history with
Yeah.
Batman. It's like, here's my Batman to
Yeah.
terrorize and destroy the enemies.
Kelly Jones and Matt Wagner saying we saved the best for when we were not at DC.
Yeah.
But yeah, and also, like as I was saying, this is one of my favorite panels. Like this might be the best panel, in the entire book,
Yeah.
or half splash. Um, so basically, she says, "I'm not one of your enemies." He apologizes, which is nice. That means he
Mhm.
really, truly does actually care for her.
Yeah, I think he does like her. He's created enough of a bond with her that um he trusts her, and it's in a way. Well, he liked his servant that he had to sacrifice too.
Yeah,
So I mean, that only gets you so far with Vlad, is him liking you, but it's better than
yeah,
being his enemy, I guess.
yeah, because he will do it at any cost. But yeah, you better stay out of his way. If you're between him and his goal, you got to stay out of his way. So she's traveling south to the hinterlands. I forget what she's doing here.
She's like foraging for snake venom or something like that, to
Yeah,
make some
yeah,
kind of
anti-venom for the adders.
yeah. She's just going off to like get some stuff she needs, basically. And she's gonna be gone for a while.
Kelly Jones also killing it with the rain effect, the
Hmm.
roots, like everything here.
Yep. I love the way it's like splashing on their cloaks
Hmm.
right there.
Another just insane splash page.
Yeah. And that's in like they're discussing Nokia and Jira, we said his name was. They're just
Yeah,
discussing how powerful he is. And like we're like, okay, let's show you how powerful he is.
yeah. I wonder. I like this is a piece I'd love to see without the coloring, just to see what the original art looks like. Like how much of this is Kelly Jones, with these rings and the lightning effect,
Hmm.
and how much of it is Villarubia adding that
Yeah.
lightning. But an absolute stunning page.
Yep. It definitely pops. It's not pure white. It's still got a little blue, but I mean, it's like glowing off the page.
Yeah, yeah. And the lettering, the sound
Like a
effect.
boom.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's great.
So then Vlad wants to know who's plotting against him, who wants to harm him. And
Yep.
so he asks the mirror, and the mirror says everybody. And then he thinks to himself, even her.
Yep. He's like, all.
Yeah, yeah. So
And
he,
then,
he now knows he can't trust anybody.
yeah. And what he does next is very ominous. This is like very understated like panel of all the craziness we've seen in this book. Like the way this page is drawn is so understated. But
Yes.
what he is preparing is also so obvious.
Just these 6-foot spikes, or
Yep.
7-foot spikes, however big they were. And that we switched the scene to basically everybody um, kind of voting to are they voting to kill him, or just
Yeah, to
yeah,
team up against him more or less
yeah.
and take him out.
And
I think the bad part about this part is I couldn't tell if this one character was on the bottom panel. There's that person right there next to his face. I'm like, is that not Nokia?
oh,
Nope, yeah,
here.
right there. I couldn't tell if that was her or not on that page,
Yeah,
just
it
because I
is tough
didn't
to
really
tell.
see any other dark skinned characters really.
Yeah. Also Bruce Campbell.
Yeah, yeah,
and and they turn around, and there's Dracula.
yeah. Being very pleasant.
Yeah, like it's such a trope, It's like, oh, you were, yeah. How do they not know that he was listening in, and he's just being nice all of a sudden? Come on.
Hmm. Yeah,
Um, but they all
but
decide they all
he
decide
drinks
to
this
drink.
wine. Yeah, well, he
Yeah,
drinks it first, kind of proving that it's safe.
right.
But what they don't realize is that it's like in The Princess Bride, where he had like built up years of this resistance to this poison, so he
Hmm.
poisoned both drinks. It's like
Yep.
what he drank was poison, but he'd already like figured out how to like beat that, and
Yeah,
they
and
had
then
not.
and then Satan shows up in a very cool smoke ring skull
Yep.
smoke-filled entrance. Like, he's kind of like a pro wrestler in this. He's like the Undertaker, but just like to the 10th power,
Yeah.
you know? And so who will stand once again I come to ascertain the depth of the scope. He wants to see updates. He wants to see how they're
Yeah.
doing and finds that everybody's impaled through the asshole.
Yeah. Someone's been busy.
Yeah. What a this page is definitely not as gruesome as that first double page.
No.
You know, you can't do that to the reader twice in one, but you see where those polls are going,
Yep.
you
You
know?
definitely do.
Yeah.
From the
So
ass to the mouth.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Uh giving a new meaning to ass to mouth.
Yes.
So he basically says, yeah, I'm the only one left.
Yeah.
You
But there's
know?
one empty spike there.
Yes, there is. There is one empty spike. I like the silhouettes here, and then the Hall of Mouths
Yeah.
over here. This is just great.
Because now Satan, even though there was some rule where they weren't supposed to like basically harm each other, I guess these rules were meant to be broken because Satan's just like, cool.
Yeah,
like you gone like so rogue that you're gonna be the best like champion of my army or whatever ever. like,
yeah,
it-
seriously.
so he's like, come on further down to the bowels of it's not really hell that they're in, wherever they are. Come on
Yeah.
down a little further. I'm gonna show you the real deal.
Ooh. And there's the beast of the apocalypse, which is a sleeping giant dragon.
Yep. Smaug.
Yeah, it's Smaug. It's the bringer of Ragnarok, and I do love that this dragon is so big. Like the perspective, you see them here on the ledge, and they're
Hmm.
looking at this thing is hundreds of feet
Yeah, it's the
tall,
size of a
and
mountain. Yeah.
yeah, and it's sleeping on It's sleeping on little volcanoes.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't even think I picked up on that the first time. There's so
Yeah,
much color on this page too. Like,
yeah,
I mean, it's like a rainbow almost.
it is. It really is. I mean, there's blues, there's greens, there's oranges, there's reds, there's a little bit of everything. There's a lot of
Hmm.
black, even some white, some purple. Yeah. So this is the beast of the apocalypse. Yeah, just look at this, and then we get to another. This kind of came out of nowhere. I didn't realize it. Um, I thought it was a sword. I realized it's a crucifix.
Yeah. Right. I didn't realize it was a crucifix till he says it over on the other
Yeah,
page.
yeah. And he pretends to be hurt,
Yeah.
and then you get to see the true form of the devil. He's literally wearing a necklace of souls,
Yeah.
and kind of like, yeah. What did you think you were going to do to me? I'm the
Yeah.
devil. You can't kill me with a crucifix.
Look at like the horns from the chin and everything came
I know.
out. So it's
Such
like,
a
is this his true self or just his big, like intimidating self?
Yeah, yeah. This is him puffing up his chest, or maybe this is his. He's got giant wings. And you
Hmm.
don't know how big he actually is because you don't really need to, but he's
Yeah.
big.
And look, it's like he takes his tongue and
Yeah,
punctures his own finger to make
yeah,
this blue blood come out. And this is where this is what makes Dracula a vampire it's
right.
basically the blood of Satan.
He tries to kill the devil, and the Satan's punishment is to shove his bloody fingers into Dracula's mouth. He tastes the blood of Satan, unspeakable agony course throughout my every vein. It's like his entire body was on fire and going to explode,
Hmm.
and then it stops. This is really cool. Like Kelly Jones is selling the writhing, the movement of him in really, like just torturous pain, even though it was momentarily.
Yeah, this isn't like a romantic, turning into the vampire moment.
No,
This
this
is
is
torturous.
violent pain. Yeah. Yeah. So he said he's hungry like he's never been. It's like he's been starving for days, weeks, and months. He's trying to escape. And he gets out of there, or he gets up somewhere. This is a little confusing, but I think it's just meant to. I don't know. What'd you
Well,
think about this left page here?
he's meant to be kind of disoriented, I guess, because he's down in those like depths that Satan led him to, and he
Mm,
doesn't know a way out. But he transforms into mist right here,
yeah.
and he doesn't really know. It's like he didn't really know how he did it. It was almost like just like a instinct to do it,
Mhm.
to slip through this like small little crack that he could escape from.
Makes sense. Yeah, you pointed out that it's supposed to be disorienting, and it is because he's disoriented, and as the reader, you're a little disoriented. But the
Hmm.
once again, the words, Matt Wagner's not overdoing it with prose. He is just giving you enough.
Yeah.
So then we come upon Nakia, and she's just coming back, and well, now she sees everybody's dead, impaled through
Hmm.
the ass.
Yep. And she's like, I'm done. I'm
Yeah,
leaving.
I'm out here.
She's like, well, first she's like, Vlad, are you all right? And then she's like, I better just go.
So she runs, and Vlad shows up, and he is looking 10 sheets to the wind. He looks like he's been dead for 4 years.
Hmm. He's looking very vampire-y now.
Yeah, yeah. And he's, that this panel right here is really selling it. The kind of the classic Nosferatu hands.
Hmm. Yep. And I love the dialogue here too. Like, why can I not cross the threshold? It's because she
Hmm.
hasn't invited him in.
Yeah, yeah, and that's we already have one of your basic rules of vampirism that
Hmm.
we all know is you gotta invite them in, otherwise
Yep.
they can't come in.
They can't come in. Yep.
Yeah. So, so come here, my love. Yes.
And that was it. That's all it took, is he was able to come in as soon as she said that.
Yeah, and I kind of knew it was coming soon enough. And here we are, and it's great. Like here's a Matt Wagner paying a little homage to his one of his favorite vampire movies, Let the Right One In.
Yep.
And there you go. There it is. He says it, and he bites her. Pretty horrific. You could see the flesh tearing. Kelly
Hmm.
Jones just does a great job to sell this, and she is dead.
Yep. I mean, the hunger just overcomes him.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, he hadn't had it yet, like the blood, and so that
Hmm.
was just, it's crazy. It's like his first kill was of being a vampire was the one that he actually kind of liked.
Yeah. Well, his last kill as a human was one of the ones he kind of liked too. His servant.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I mean, yes, the impaling everybody was, but he was full of power, and he knew what
Yeah.
he was doing. So he's kind of going through this in his head, and Satan shows back up with that crazy cape, and basically says, "You are a true vampire now."
Yep. And he's like, "What have you done to me?"
Yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah.
like, doesn't he
He's
say, basically, you did this to yourself?
yeah, seriously. I mean, that he was there for a reason, and he said, you brought this fate on yourself." Um, and now we get some this great 3/4 page, and he's basically about to tell him the rules, the
Hmm.
rules of being a vampire. Um,
Yeah, that he has to sleep in the earth or touch the earth,
mhm.
but that he's going to have these like servants that that'll transport him around and do his bidding. So he's going to have some things. So he's still going to be like a servant of Satan in the world, but he's going to kind of be tormented himself. He's not going to have the freedom of the with this power that he thought he was going to have.
Right, and he is, he's evil to the bone, but now he has to deal with limitations on how he can be killed, or like you said, you know, uh, uh, yeah, feeding on the blood. Otherwise, you're gonna go through some pain, as we know. But we're getting to the end here, and it kind
Yeah.
of does. Like I feel like you you're getting to the end in a very natural way. There's nothing
Hmm.
else you really need to know about this portion of how he becomes Dracula. Um, he's filled with rage, and that's going to set him on the path that he's going on.
Mm-hmm.
But
so he goes on to Transylvania and sets up camp. And this is some of the Dracula stuff we kind of know, right?
yeah,
Like how Dracula like operates, where he lives, yada yada. I will say when he joined the Scans too, at that point Satan said that they couldn't go into sunlight. None of them could. Said it would be toxic to them. So it's like
that's right. And they
that's
talked
not
about
really
that
like
later
part
on.
of a. It's like that's not part of the vampirism as much as it is part of the Scholomance, I guess.
Yeah, yeah, being underground for what they said was going to be 7 years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Do this splash page of the castle is fucking incredible.
Yeah, yeah,
It's not like super detailed. I mean, it is on the walls here, but it just the way it's lit
yeah.
is what makes it so beautiful and terrible.
Definitely gives the ambiance, and again, the coloring with the blood red sky.
Mhm. Yeah.
Um,
Yep. And he's home, so we know that he's already coming for the Turks.
yep, he's gonna finish that part up. That was his main purpose, anyway.
Yeah, yeah. And this, I guess, I don't know if the Sultan gets, he gets obliterated, ripped to shreds, literally ripped to shreds, and they don't know who the killer is. What's interesting here, I just noticed it, is like you can kind of see the silhouette
Mm-hmm.
shadow of the bat here,
Yep.
and
Yeah, it's a
y-
great subtle touch
yeah, and full moon again, and he's flying away with his medallion.
that he put on the faked dead body
Yeah,
earlier in the book. So that's coming full circle.
yeah, and he reclaims his sovereignty, his birthright. I do love this bat up here. And there you go. The
Yep,
final splash page. Dracula is born
with that mustache.
with that mustache. Yeah, that's a hell of a mustache. I mean, all respect to Kelly Jones, but you can swap his head out in this splash page with a Batman head, and there's no difference.
Yeah, yeah. Put a little bat symbol or part of the bat symbol in that medallion.
Yep. Yeah, but I mean, honestly, like I think it's a testament to Kelly Jones as an artist. Like he treated Batman as a kind of Dracula, and he treats Dracula
Mhm.
the same way he treats Batman.
Yeah, I can see that. But just to wrap up the story aspect of this, we've got this cool back matter. We get some reduced black and white pages here, kind
Yeah.
of get a look at what it looks like, but it's small.
Yeah, I will recommend to anybody that's looking at this book, just focus in. There's some subtle detail in this image right here. That is an enlarged anus. Let's just
Yeah.
call it what it is. Um yeah, the creature here. Yeah, I want to see these at full. I want to see these at full bleed. I want to see what these look like. I want to see this double page splash. This thing is
Mhm.
gigantic, and I want to see that. I think this will be the greatest artist edition of our modern times if this comes out.
Yeah. I like these kind of character sketches too in the back,
Mm-hmm.
like the early drafts. I mean, even that bat face is
Oh, it's
uh,
fantastic.
pretty frightening. I mean, I think he kicked it up a notch into what actually ended up in the book, but even that's pretty wild looking.
Yeah. And that closes out. You get the end pages of the forest. And man, I gotta say, I'm with you, Daryl. This is definitely this is my top 3 books of the year. This might even be my favorite book that either of them have ever done.
Man, it's so good. Like I said, I'm not even like a big horror fan, but I read this. I was like you. I took about 2 breaks, so about 3 sittings to read it through. But when I got to that third sitting, it was almost like it was moving so fast I didn't want to stop until I was done.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
like I closed it going like, "Oh man, I can't wait until the next chapter comes out," you
Seriously.
know? And I think once this is done as a set of 4 books, it's gonna be just like a I think it's gonna be the Dracula comic adaptation to really kind of hold on to. There's already been so many
Yeah.
aside from like Tomb of Dracula, but I think there's even like isn't there one going on like right now, like a Universal Monsters Dracula, and
Yeah,
it's like
I think Tynion wrote it.
yeah, which I haven't read it, but I'm sure it's good too. But I mean, I just think there's so much like this is like a love letter to the genre by two people that love it, you know.
Yes, and if you go back and listen to my interview with Matt Wagner, which will be you can click on it when this video comes to an end, he talks about that. He talks about this being like a love letter to it, and like with the highest regard for the original text, but like expanding upon everything. And they put so much care and love into this, and it's just it's a great book. I would honestly say it's like a 9 out of 10 or a 9.5 out of 10.
And for anybody that's watching, if you missed out on this, they are putting a soft cover out that should be coming out in October.
Yeah, Dark Horse is. I think they're publishing it with Dark Horse,
and I think it'll be standard comic size though, and paperback. But I mean, get it and read it anyway. Like,
yes, and if you aren't aware, by the time this book comes out, I think the Kickstarter will be active for the new one. They may have an add-on with extra copies of this, but yes, pick it up and support it. Support the Kickstarter. Support this fantastic endeavor, because 4 books, we're in for 4 of these.
Yeah.
So yeah, I loved it. I had so much fun with it, and I can't wait for the next one. Anything else that you would like to add to this?
I mean, I think I've said it all. Just like I really, really, really enjoyed it. I can't recommend it enough. And pretty much all month long, I'm going to be talking about this book, I think, on Instagram and threads and everything else. I have a video of it where I did a initial first look of it, where I literally ripped the cellophane off, flipped through real quick. And I think if you watch that video, all you're going to hear me saying is "wow, wow, wow," and I hadn't even read it yet. I just looked through the pages. So, yep, it's a good one.
Without further ado, Daryl,
what would you like to tell the people?
Read your comics.
What's your favorite scary movie?